Hey there, amazing viewers. Welcome back to our YouTube channel where we bring you your favorite manhwa recaps. Did you know that more than 90% of our viewers have not subscribed yet? So please, if you're enjoying our videos and want to be part of our awesome community, now is the perfect time to hit that subscribe button. Joining our subscriber family means you'll never miss out on any of our exciting content. So, take a quick second to click that big red subscribe button below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay notified whenever we release a new video. Enjoy watching and stay awesome.
As the night stretched its dark veil over the city, an air of unease settled in with the arrival of disconcerting news from the enigmatic Xinguang Society. The Ministry of Defense, an entity that had been cautiously observing the situation, had finally broken its silence and taken a definitive stance. A wave of horror swept across the globe as the devastating news broke. F-City, once a bustling metropolis, had succumbed to an unimaginable nightmare. As the world grappled with the magnitude of the crisis, attention turned to SSS High-Risk City, where the danger level had escalated to an unprecedented height. The world had been thrust into an uncharted realm of survival, where the distinction between life and death had blurred in the face of an adversary that knew no restraint. Just a week ago, a virus expert dispatched by the Ministry of Defense along with 13 advanced teams embarked on a perilous mission. Tragically, they have all been confirmed to have perished together in the line of duty. Among them were heroes who displayed unwavering courage, sacrificing their lives in their determined efforts to combat the crisis. Their stories are marked by immense suffering and selflessness that will be forever remembered. In the face of adversity, some have managed to survive the ordeal, although only 7 of them remain. Among the survivors are individuals like Lao San and Lao Si, whose exceptional bravery has singled them out as leaders. Meanwhile, another survivor named Xiao Kai has been assigned the crucial role of accompanying the Leaf expert. This strategic decision highlights the diverse skill sets needed to navigate the challenges posed by the crisis. As the protagonist faced the harrowing challenges posed by the T-Series virus, his younger sister, Ikayankian, stood as a poignant symbol of innocence amidst the chaos. Her tears flowed freely, a testament to the terror that gripped her heart in the face of the nightmarish events unfolding around them. Amidst the grim surroundings, a ray of hope emerged when the protagonist stumbled upon his little sister. Astonishingly, she remained untouched. Her uninfected status hinted at the possibility of immunity or resistance, a glimmer of potential salvation in the darkness. With the heroes making their escape, the protagonist's mind churned with an audacious plan to harness Kayankian's unique condition. The goal was to utilize these antibodies to develop a countermeasure against the live T-Series virus samples in his possession. The plan held the promise of redemption, a chance to turn the tide against the relentless advance of the virus. With determination etched on their faces, the heroes embarked on a journey that would require not only their courage but also their ingenuity. Amidst the chaos that gripped their surroundings, a new wave of terror emerged. As the menacing figures of zombies closed in on the group, the scent of human blood stirred their predatory instincts, driving them to ambush the heroes without a moment's hesitation. Panic and adrenaline surged as the heroes swiftly drew their weapons, the glint of determination in their eyes contrasting starkly with the horror unfolding before them. As the protagonist stood at the epicenter of the onslaught, a poignant realization swept over him. He could sense the unwavering loyalty and commitment of his comrades, their readiness to lay down their lives to ensure his survival. They recognized that he carried the burden of hope for all of humanity, and in the face of peril, their bonds were cemented by an unspoken understanding of the task at hand. The urgency of the situation left little room for explanations or sentiments. One of the protagonist's comrades, driven by an unshakable conviction, seized him and pulled him away from the encroaching horde of zombies, a testament to the profound belief that he held the key to saving humanity from the brink of extinction. In that split second, as his comrade's action resonated with the shared purpose that united them, the group pressed on, fleeing the immediate danger with a sense of unity that transcended words. The protagonist's heart swelled with gratitude and resolve, the weight of his mission and the sacrifices made in its name propelling him forward even in the face of overwhelming odds. As the chaos of the situation intensified, a sense of guilt gnawed at the protagonist's heart. He knew the weight of the hope of humanity rested on his shoulders, but the thought of leaving a comrade behind, especially one so steadfast and brave, tore at his conscience. With grim determination, they both found themselves on the rooftop, a door firmly shut to prevent the relentless advance of the zombies. Desperation welled up within the protagonist, and he begged Xiao Kai to reconsider, to open the door and escape alongside them. He couldn't bear the thought of leaving her to face the horde alone. However, Xiao Kai, unyielding in her commitment to the mission, remained resolute. She believed that staying together would be a burden. Amidst the chaos and the clamor of the undead, Xiao Kai's unwavering courage stood as a beacon of inspiration. As the protagonist and Kayankian descended from the rooftop, A flicker of hope for Xiao Kai's survival still clung to his heart. He yearned for her to overcome the seemingly insurmountable odds. But as time passed and the darkness of their situation pressed in, a growing sense of dread settled over him. The absence of Xiao Kai became a painful reality he couldn't deny. Exhaustion weighed heavily on the protagonist, his spirit weathered by the loss of so many of his comrades who had fallen before his eyes. The burden of carrying the hope of humanity on his shoulders was an immense one, but he pressed forward, determined to honor the sacrifices of those who had entrusted him with this mission. In the midst of their perilous journey, Kaienkian, in her innocence, couldn't help but mourn for their fallen comrades. She remembered their names, Xiao Kai, Sijij, and Lao Da, and held on to the hope that they might one day return to rescue them. Her childlike faith and optimism touched the protagonist's heart. With a heavy heart, he acknowledged the bitter truth that their path was fraught with danger, and they could not afford to dwell on the past. As they navigated the treacherous landscape, they carried the memories of their fallen comrades as a solemn reminder of the sacrifices made and the unwavering determination required to survive in a world overrun by the horrors of the T-Series virus. With a heavy heart, the protagonist gently wiped away Kaienkian's tears and spoke softly, reminding her that they couldn't afford to waste the sacrifices of their fallen comrades. Together, they pressed forward, determined to carry on despite the horrors that surrounded them. Unfortunately, their journey led them to a destination that was infested with zombies. As they stepped onto the treacherous ground, the protagonist's protective instincts kicked into high gear. He swore to keep Kaienkian safe, his fury mounting as he saw the undead closing in, daring to threaten their safety. Armed with a makeshift staff, the protagonist became a whirlwind of fury and determination. With each swing, he fought back the relentless tide of zombies that dared to harm them, his eyes fixed on Kaienkian as he shielded her from the horrors of the world they now inhabited. In the midst of the chaos, the protagonist's resolve burned brightly, a testament to his unwavering commitment to protect his sister. The battle was fierce, but with Kaienkian's safety at stake, he was a force to be reckoned with, fighting not only for survival but for the hope of a better future in a world overrun by darkness. Fueled by a righteous anger and the determination to protect his sister, the protagonist unleashed his full potential in the brutal battle against the undead. In the end, he emerged victorious, standing amidst the fallen zombies, his chest heaving with exertion. Kaienkian, though relieved, was deeply upset to see her big brother enduring such hardship for their sake. Her concern tugged at his heartstrings, but he knew he needed to be strong for her. With a weary but reassuring smile, his smile was a symbol of resilience, meant to lessen the worry that weighed on her young heart. As they prepared to make their escape, the protagonist guided Kaienkian to take the elevator to reach the first floor, explaining that it would help them avoid any potential zombie hordes and lead them directly to Kingjing Bridge. While detailing their escape plan, he noticed a pensive look on Kaienkian's face, her thoughts clearly occupied by something important. Curiosity gnawed at the protagonist as he wondered what could be running through her mind. When she finally spoke, Kaienkian expressed her willingness to give her immune blood to save the infected people, demonstrating a remarkable level of compassion and bravery. Her dedication and selflessness left him deeply touched. For Kaienkian, she didn't mind sacrificing her own life to save others if it meant helping them. However, the protagonist had made a promise to protect her until the very end, and the thought of her putting herself in danger weighed heavily on him. The protagonist's heart sank at the thought of Kaienkian sacrificing her own life. The protagonist understood the purity of Kaienkian's heart, but he was unwavering in his commitment to ensure her safety above all else. As the early morning light bathed Kingjing Bridge, the military personnel stationed there shared a collective sigh of relief. They had managed to successfully clear the zombie horde that threatened the bridge's security. One of the military members overheard a conversation about a bomb team planning to send a bomb to F City. He couldn't help but wonder about the fate of the survivors in the city, responded unwaveringly, stating that their decision remained the same regardless of the survivors. They were determined to proceed with the bombing, firmly believing that it was crucial to prevent the virus from spreading any further. In the midst of this conversation, one of the military personnel spotted Kaienkian and the protagonist. Their sudden appearance drew attention and raised questions about who they were and how they had managed to survive amidst the chaos of the T-Series virus outbreak. In a cruel twist of fate, the military personnel, overwhelmed by fear and paranoia, hastily decided to eliminate the protagonist and Kaienkian, assuming them to be zombies without a closer inspection. The two of them, unaware of the impending danger, moved cautiously in the hope of being saved. As they walked, Kaienkian's sharp eyes caught something on the ground, a laser pointer aiming at their feet. It was a chilling revelation, indicating that they were seconds away from being shot as soon as they drew closer. Startled by the gunshot, the protagonist and Kaienkian were shaken, but luck was on their side as the shot missed its mark. Amidst the confusion, the protagonist couldn't help but wonder if they had been gravely misunderstood. With resolve in his heart, the protagonist reached into his pocket and retrieved the chemical he carried with him. In a desperate bid to save himself and Kainki, Yinan raised his voice and introduced himself as Yinan, an academician of the Huagong Science and Technology Bioengineering Institute. He disclosed the nature of the chemicals in his possession, explaining that they contain live T-series samples. Furthermore, he expressed his confidence, at 90%, in being able to develop an antidote, highlighting his unique role as the only scientist who possessed such knowledge. Among the military personnel, one individual showed a glimmer of sympathy, perhaps considering the potential value of Yinan's expertise. However, to their dismay, their presence and pleas went unnoticed by another military member. This person believed that it was safer to eliminate Yinan and Kainkian rather than risk them turning into zombies later. The lack of acknowledgement and the cold response left Yinan in shock. Kainkian's fear continued to grow in the face of this dire situation. Their fate now hung in the balance, with the hope of being recognized and saved dwindling rapidly. In a desperate attempt to shield Kainkian from the looming threat, Yinan hugged her tightly, promising that he would save her. As desperation and fear mounted, a military helicopter approached them. Their situation seemed increasingly dire as the military personnel, seemingly convinced that Yinan was already deceased. They had made up their minds that neither of them could be saved, assuming they were already infected. Yinan, driven by the desperate need for acknowledgement and fueled by his sister's mounting fear, was determined to make them see the truth. However, without hesitation, the military personnel aboard the helicopter made a shocking and heart-wrenching decision. They pulled the trigger and fired a shot directly at Kainkian's heart. In her final moments, she locked eyes with her brother, still holding on to hope for salvation. Yinan was left in a state of shock and disbelief as he cradled his sister in his arms, unable to comprehend the tragic turn of events. The anguish of witnessing harm befalling his beloved Kainkian in his hands was an indescribable agony that would haunt him forever. In a devastating turn of events, the military personnel, seemingly convinced that Yinan and Kainkian were beyond salvation, pulled the trigger once more. Their hope, however faint, was tragically extinguished. The military personnel's mindset shifted to gratitude only if they were certain that the person before them was indeed Yinan. In the end, both brother and sister met a tragic fate, their lives cut short. As Yinan grieved the loss of his beloved Kainkian, he was unable to bear the heart-wrenching reality before him. Kainkian, on the other hand, fought bravely against the encroaching grip of death, tears in her eyes as she felt her life slipping away. In her final moments, Kainkian summoned a smile for her brother, her strength waning. With a heavy heart, Yinan apologized for not being able to protect her, overwhelmed by a profound sense of guilt and loss. As the darkness of death enveloped them both, the two of them found solace in each other's presence one last time, their lives intertwined in a tragic tale of sacrifice and unwavering love. As Kainkian and Yinan faced their tragic fate on the bridge, a drone had been dispatched to capture the unfolding events. Their plight was being broadcast live to a captivated audience. The viewers watching this grim spectacle were divided in their reactions. Some among the viewers were deeply intrigued by the unfolding drama, their sympathy for the siblings evident in their hearts. However, not all viewers were moved by compassion. Some remained heartless and detached, unmoved by the tragic scene playing out before them. Amidst the corridors of power at the Capital Government Council, the truth began to emerge through their investigations. It was confirmed that Yinan had indeed succeeded in developing an antidote, and even more surprising, he and Kainkian were not infected by the virus. Within the council chambers, a fierce debate ensued. One faction believed that the bomb team should proceed with their mission to eradicate the infected city entirely, convinced that this was the only solution. On the other side, another council member passionately argued for Yinan's life, emphasizing the value of the antidote he held and the potential it had to save countless lives. Tensions flared, and the meeting descended into chaos as opposing opinions clashed. It seemed that some within the council were willing to go to great lengths, even to inhumane extremes, to justify their positions and assert their authority. In the midst of this turmoil, the fate of Yinan, Kainkian, and the antidote hung in the balance, while the Capital Government Council grappled with the consequences of their decisions and the moral implications of their choices. In a disturbing turn of events, some viewers of the live stream celebrated the tragic deaths of Kainkian and Yinan, believing they had acted recklessly despite possessing the antidote. The council, meanwhile, offered a hollow thanks to Yinan for his contribution, even though they had played a role in his murder. Yinan lay lifeless on the ground, his sacrifice and the value of the antidote seemingly ignored. A heartless military personnel who continued with their duties. They set up explosives along the bridge, successfully executing their mission to prevent the infected from advancing. With a deafening explosion, the path to the end of the bridge was obliterated, causing the infected to tumble into the waters below. The bridge, once a symbol of connection, now lay abandoned and ruined, submerged in the sea. The mission may have been successful in containing the virus, but the cost had been immeasurable, leaving behind a legacy of tragedy, sacrifice, and moral reckoning. The next day, to everyone's astonishment, Enan's lifeless body, once a rotting corpse. He suddenly awoke, his movements fueled by a sinister and insatiable hunger. In an angry and disoriented frenzy, he seized a nearby bird that had perched on him, his grip fueled by an otherworldly anger. Seated on the ground, Enan observed as his severely wounded abdomen began to heal, the process defying all rational explanation. He struggled to grasp the reality of his situation, bewildered by the inexplicable phenomenon. Suddenly, an eerie sensation coursed through his body, sending shivers down his spine. With a look of shock etched on his face, he watched in amazement as the sensation persisted, driving a profound transformation within him. As he coughed, an unnatural and unsettling event unfolded. Enan abnormally began to vomit, the sight and sensation alien and deeply disturbing. As Enan's body underwent an unsettling transformation, his once black hair turned an eerie white, and his eyes took on a haunting shade of red. He began to suspect that the strange sensations he had experienced might be side effects of his immune blood. Given their blood relation, he couldn't help but wonder if Kyankian might have also somehow survived. With a glimmer of hope, he embarked on a frantic search for his baby sister. Miraculously, when he found Kyankian, she did not appear as a rotting corpse but instead resembled someone in a deep slumber. Relief washed over him at the sight of her, but his heart sank to see her unconscious. Enan rushed to her side. Desperation was in his eyes as he attempted to rouse her from her slumber. He first checked her eyes and found her pupils clear. Her body showed no signs of decay, giving him a sliver of hope. However, despite these encouraging signs, he couldn't sense any signs of life within her. While Enan grappled with the anguish of trying to revive his beloved sister, one of the military officers watched their suffering from a distance, assuming that Enan was nothing more than a zombie, incapable of harming any human life. The military officer, frustrated by his missed opportunity to shoot Enan, felt somewhat unlucky. He decided to leave the scene, referring to it as a ghost city, seemingly acknowledging the desolation and death that now permeated the area. Meanwhile, Enan's world was filled with a mixture of emotions. His surprise and joy knew no bounds when he realized that he could hear his baby sister's heartbeat, a sign that she was still alive. A smile broke across his face, a glimmer of hope amidst the despair. As he searched for something to carry Kyankian, thoughts of the city's future weighed heavily on Enan's mind. He feared that the government's annihilation of the city would turn it into a breeding ground for zombies. Despite the uncertainty of their circumstances, he hoped that his baby sister would find rest while he sought a way to awaken her. With a heavy heart, Enan made the difficult decision not to return home. In a world forever changed by the virus and the tragic events that had unfolded, he felt that he had no place left, setting off on an uncertain path with his unconscious sister by his side. The grim news broadcasted that F City had been confirmed to have no survivors, casting a somber and devastating shadow over the once thriving metropolis. Amidst the lockdown enforced by the 4 Stars group in F City, however, in the midst of this desolation, an old woman wept inconsolably over the loss of her daughter, her heart shattered by the inability to find a way to save her. Elsewhere, in a place that purported to be safe, a sense of naive complacency had taken root. 2 individuals, drawn by the allure of tranquil lakeside serenity, had chosen to set up camp in blissful disregard of the recent cataclysmic event, the bombing of Qingjong Bridge. Their misconception, or rather, their stubborn belief, was that the T-virus had been effectively contained and eradicated, the menace quelled, and the waters rendered immune to its insidious contagion. In their carelessness, they confidently assumed that this scenic retreat provided a sanctuary from the horrors they believed were left behind. However, as they lounged by the tranquil waters, one of the friends stumbled upon a piece of knowledge that would shatter their false sense of security. An article authored by none other than Enan. An article delved into the intricate ways viruses could potentially exploit prokaryotic organisms and evolve into organelles. Enan's profound insights into the virulent world of microbiology. Though grounded in meticulous research, they often fell on deaf ears due to the pervasive ignorance that clouded public understanding. People dismissed his warnings and the implications of his findings, their skepticism prevailing over the evidence he presented. Undaunted by the potential risks that might lurk beneath the tranquil surface of the lake, the 2 friends continued their activities with a recklessness born of ignorance. In the heart of F City, Enan found himself caught in a web of uncertainty. pondering the enigmatic dangers that still lingered within its abandoned streets. In F City, Enan's primary concern was the safety of his sister, to prepare for the journey back to the Twin Stars Tower laboratory. Fortune favored Enan as he stumbled upon an axe that he deemed a worthy instrument of self-defense. However, his intellectual curiosity was unquenched, and his innate desire for knowledge led him to contemplate the state of affairs within the building. With a calculated throw, Enan sent the axe hurtling towards the building's interior, unveiling a disquieting revelation. The building was teeming with zombies. His impromptu action served as a catalyst, triggering a visceral response from the undead inhabitants within. Like a relentless tide, the zombies streamed out of the building, their singular focus fixed upon the intruder in their midst. Prepared for a defensive standoff, Enan readied an explosive device, fully expecting to face a horde of frenzied attackers. However, to his bewilderment, his presence was met with indifference. Enan stood there, utterly speechless. The zombies, driven by an inscrutable instinct, Enan had realized that he was no longer perceived as a threat by the very creatures that had once instilled terror. In a surreal turn of events, he had become an enigma to the undead. With an eerie ease, Enan ventured inside the building, his presence seemingly unthreatening to the zombies that once inhabited it. His determination to protect Kyankian drove him forward, and he seized several rifles with a solemn promise in his heart. Meanwhile, in other parts of the contaminated city, small pockets of humanity struggled to fend off the relentless onslaught of the undead. Exhaustion had taken hold of these survivors, as they found themselves unexpectedly facing hordes of zombies far larger than any they had encountered before. In a desperate bid to hold their ground, one of the survivors took charge, instructing his team to provide cover while he prepared for a long-range attack. Tragically, their situation took a dire turn as one of their comrades fell victim to a zombie bite. The zombie's head was sliced off. The infected man pleaded for help, knowing his fate was sealed, but it was a grim reality that they all understood. As the chaos intensified and fate continued its cruel dance, the remaining survivors faced even greater challenges and dangers in their battle against the relentless zombie horde. In a heart-wrenching decision, the team's leader made the painful choice to sacrifice their infected comrade. It was a pragmatic decision, born out of the necessity to buy time and ensure the survival of the uninfected members of the group, even as chaos continued to swirl around them. Upon their hard-earned escape from the clutches of the relentless zombie onslaught, the survivors encountered a mysterious figure in their midst. This mysterious presence, Enan, surrounded by the eerie and dimly lit backdrop of their harrowing environment, became the focal point of their collective attention. Curiosity welled up within them as they sought to unravel the identity of this solitary individual who had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. The survivors couldn't easily discern whether this stranger was a fellow human in search of safety, just like them, or whether he had succumbed to the unrelenting grasp of the T-virus. Enan continued his solitary journey through the city, focused on his own survival. His enhanced abilities, gifts from the inexplicable transformation he had undergone, allowed him to sense danger lurking in his proximity. His senses tingled with alertness as an unexpected arrow whizzed past him. Startled, Enan turned his attention to the source of this sudden threat. A group of hunters had taken note of him, and their suspicions were aroused. He couldn't help but wonder why the zombies disregarded his presence as a human. They assumed he might be mute, given his apparent indifference to their presence while he examined their masks. Attempting to assert their dominance, the hunters tried to intimidate Enan. However, their actions were met with an unexpected twist. Enan's superhuman reflexes and speed left them bewildered and unable to react in time. A shiver of unease ran down the spine of one of the hunters, the inexplicable nature of Enan's abilities filling the air with an eerie tension. Enan, now in a position of power, raised his rifle and directed a simple but pointed question toward the stunned hunter. He inquired about the origin of their masks. His swift actions and newfound abilities leave his adversaries in a state of shock and uncertainty. The hunter, gripped by fear and desperation, promptly divulged the information Enan sought. He revealed that their equipment was sourced from the city center, the distribution hub of their main group, where they conducted exchanges for essential supplies. This revelation filled Enan with a sense of anticipation, as it provided him with the opportunity to obtain the much-needed equipment he sought. However, the captive hunter, in a desperate attempt to turn the tide in his favor, subtly signaled his comrades to mount an attack on Enan. In a sudden and chaotic flurry, the group launched their assault. Yet, what they failed to grasp was Enan's extraordinary skill and composure. With swift and precise movements, he incapacitated his attackers with deadly accuracy, leaving them with fatal headshots. The surviving hunters, their initial bravado shattered by the unexpected turn of events, fled in disarray. With the threat momentarily vanquished, Enan refocused on his primary objective. Before him stood the very building where he and Kyankian had made their daring escape with the assistance of his comrades. It was a poignant reminder of the trials and tribulations they had faced together, and it served as a crucial waypoint in his quest to reunite with his sister and uncover the mysteries of the virus-ridden world they now inhabited. Upon entering the building, Yinan was greeted by a grim tableau of lifeless corpses, a stark testament to the unforgiving nature of the world outside. Undeterred, he proceeded to the elevator, a testament to the building's surprising functionality despite its abandonment. As he ascended to the 60th floor, his heart was filled with hope and trepidation. He prayed that the laboratory, the crucibles of knowledge where answers to the virus might lie, had been spared from the relentless advance of the undead. However, as the elevator doors slid open, Yinan's hopes were dashed by a gruesome sight. Before him, a pack of zombies feasted voraciously on human flesh. Their grotesque relish and the macabre banquet turned Yinan's stomach. But what truly struck him was the identity of the unfortunate victim. It was his captain, the leader who had guided him and his comrades through countless trials. Blinded by anger and grief, Yinan snatched up the axe he had carried and descended upon the ravenous zombies with a ferocity born of righteous indignation. Even though his captain was already beyond saving, Yinan showed his respect by preventing these abominations from further desecrating the memory of his fallen leader. After the carnage had subsided, Yinan lowered the bloodied axe, his heart heavy with the weight of what he had just done. He felt a profound shame as he considered how he would face the person who had helped him escape this nightmarish world. But for now, his focus was on granting his captain temporary rest, a brief respite from the horrors of the world. In the midst of this somber moment, something unexpected caught Yinan's eye. In his late captain's pocket, there was a small piece of paper, a mysterious clue that hinted at untold secrets waiting to be uncovered. The discovery of a floor plan for the Gemini Star Tower left Yinan in a state of shock and intrigue. What struck him as particularly perplexing was the specific room marked on the map, a room that had never been mentioned during their operations in the past. Suspicion began to creep into Yinan's mind, and he couldn't help but wonder if his late captain had been harboring a secret mission, hidden even from his own team. As he carefully tucked away the floor plan, his hope ignited by the possibility that this mysterious room might hold the key to reviving his beloved sister. Yinan's perspective on his captain underwent a transformation. He began to perceive the leader not just as a commander, but as a selfless figure who had abandoned a hidden mission in order to ensure the safety of Yinan and Kyankian. Yet, with this newfound respect came a disturbing realization. It dawned on Yinan that there might be a traitor within their ranks. The mission to escort him and Kyankian out of F City, a mission he had taken for granted as their solemn duty, now appeared to be a ruse. In the face of mounting evidence, Yinan couldn't escape the grim conclusion that the authority and the government had conspired to destroy the very laboratory room marked on the map, and his team, unwittingly or not, had been pawns in this larger, hidden agenda. As Yinan ascended to the 55th floor of the Gemini Star Tower, he was met with an unsettling sight. He found himself confronted by an eerie and unsettling scene. The corridor was strewn with the decaying remains of rats, their lifeless bodies scattered haphazardly across the floor. The pungent odor of decay hung heavy in the air, assaulting his senses with its repulsiveness. His initial reaction was one of morbid fascination and curiosity, driving him to investigate further, his footsteps echoing ominously in the silence of the corridor. However, as he drew closer to the fallen rodents, his shock and astonishment were palpable. Each of the unfortunate creatures bore peculiar, arc-shaped wounds on their heads, and a gruesome revelation awaited him as he examined them more closely. Their brains were conspicuously absent. This was no ordinary scene of decay. It was a haunting testament to the depravity of human nature, subjected to a horrific and deliberate form of experimentation. It was a discovery that filled Yinan with a profound sense of dread and fear as he contemplated the dark secrets that might lie hidden within this abandoned tower. As Yinan pressed on with his mission, he couldn't help but maintain vigilance, his rifle held firmly in hand as a means of protection. Every step was taken with caution, and the telltale click of his firearm echoed through the desolate corridors. His senses on high alert, Yinan continued to move stealthily, drawing ever closer to the source of the disturbance. What he encountered next was yet another unsettling surprise. Before him lay the lifeless body of a scientist, sprawled out on the floor. The scientist clutched a scalpel in their lifeless hand, a macabre detail that suggested they might have played a sinister role in the gruesome rat experiments he had witnessed earlier. As he examined the scene further, Yinan's discerning eyes noted something peculiar. The scientist's infection, if that's what it was, appeared far from ordinary. This realization left him with more questions than answers, deepening the enigma of this forsaken tower. However, his deductions took an unexpected turn when he observed a bullet hole in the scientist's lifeless body. The cause of death became clear. This scientist had met their end not due to infection, but at the hands of armed individuals who had infiltrated the building. A sudden noise from the adjacent room snapped Yinan's attention back to the present. Tension gripped him as he wondered what new mysteries or threats might await in the room nearby, the ominous echoes of his surroundings reminding him that he was far from alone in this forsaken place. Yinan's instincts and honed skills served him well as he cautiously approached the door, scalpel in hand, ready to defend himself if need be. With the stealth of a seasoned survivor, he moved silently, minimizing any noise that might give away his presence. Yinan's ability to detect their vital signs gave him a critical advantage, allowing him to assess the situation before making his move. There were 3 individuals on the other side, armed and undoubtedly a potential threat. With a swift and decisive action, Yinan burst through the door, launching a surprise attack on the armed personnel who had posed a danger to him. His observations were laser-sharp, enabling him to anticipate and evade their counterattacks effortlessly. The scalpel in his hand became a deadly instrument as he swiftly beheaded one of the armed individuals, neutralizing them with ruthless efficiency. In the midst of this tense encounter, Yinan remained vigilant, analyzing his remaining opponents for any signs of recklessness. It was then that he noticed one of the armed personnel pointing a gun at a captive woman, her life hanging in the balance. The situation had escalated, and Yinan knew that he had to act decisively to protect not only himself but also the vulnerable woman caught in this perilous confrontation. In a stroke of fortunate timing, Yinan managed to pull the trigger just before the armed personnel could harm the defenseless woman. With remarkable precision, he swiftly neutralized all of the threats posed by these adversaries, ensuring the woman's safety. As the tension began to ease, Yinan couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this situation than met the eye. His intuition told him that the armed personnel had been desperate to eliminate the woman for a reason. Something unusual or abnormal about her that had triggered their violent response. With the immediate danger averted, the relieved woman looked to Yinan as her savior. However, as Yinan surveyed his surroundings, his attention was drawn to a thick, imposing door adorned with ominous explosives. It was a door that seemed to safeguard a closely guarded secret. Driven by a relentless curiosity, Yinan took it upon himself to open the door, ready to confront whatever secrets lay beyond. Yinan took it upon himself to unseal the door. What he stumbled upon was a scene that defied rational explanation. Inside, an unlikely character, a parrot, was engaged in an inexplicable activity. It appeared to be transmitting something into a jar through its brain, a strange and surreal phenomenon that left Yinan completely bewildered. Upon closer inspection, he discerned that the jar contained small fragments of brain tissue, specifically the brains of the rats he had encountered earlier. Inexplicably fused together with the parrot, the implications of this gruesome fusion were utterly baffling, and Yinan found himself grappling with the unfathomable. Then, to his amazement, the parrot vocalized, shattering the limits of what he had previously believed possible in this already nightmarish world. The parrot, against all expectations, called out Yinan's name thrice. This left Yinan utterly perplexed, as he couldn't fathom how this parrot could possibly know him. In response to his bewilderment, the parrot began to clarify its nature, explaining that its physical form was merely a vessel, a host for a higher purpose. However, as the parrot attempted to convey vital information, it did so in a rather cryptic and enigmatic manner, leaving behind numerous unanswered questions and plot holes in its narrative. It spoke of a rat within the sewers, an entity composed of 22 interconnected brains, controlled for the purpose of transmitting information. Yinan, although struggling to grasp the parrot's intentions and the full scope of its revelations, began to piece together a theory. He surmised that this parrot had been subjected to gruesome experimentation, transformed into a peculiar communication device with the capability to convey information in a most unconventional manner. To further add to the intrigue, the parrot provided a specific location, Qingyang University Laboratory, where Yinan was to rendezvous with the individual responsible for these mysterious experiments. As the parrot's words hung in the air, Yinan remained deeply unsettled by the surreal and perplexing nature of the situation, grappling with the reality that he was faced with something beyond his understanding. Yinan exited the room, his expression as a testament to his lingering confusion and bewilderment. As he navigated the corridors, still grappling with the inexplicable events he had just encountered, the woman he had recently saved abruptly aimed a gun in his direction. Her facade one of feigned toughness, a desperate attempt to protect herself in these uncertain times. Yinan, sensing the sudden shift in the atmosphere, slowly turned around to face the woman. A wave of relief washed over him as he recognized that the woman was on the path to recovery. To the woman's astonishment, she too recognized Yinan, not as a threat, but as one of the esteemed professors she had likely encountered in the world before it had descended into chaos. Her initial defensive stance relaxed, replaced by a sense of relief that the mysterious figure before her was none other than Yinan. While Yinan continued to investigate the lifeless bodies of the armed personnel, the woman introduced herself as Chen Yue, revealing her identity as a senior researcher at H Institute. As Chen Yue found herself face to face with Yinan, her admiration for the renowned professor momentarily overwhelmed her senses. Lost in her own fanatical thoughts, she failed to realize that her gun remained pointed in his direction. Fortunately, Yinan's sharp awareness saved the situation from escalating, as he discerned that her firearm had run out of bullets. With a stern warning, Yinan conveyed the seriousness of the situation to Yue, emphasizing that continuing to point the empty weapon would not bode well for her. Heeding his words, Yue promptly discarded the now useless firearm, her laughter carrying an undertone of nervousness. It was an awkward moment that brought a sense of levity to their encounter. As Yinan examined the deceased armed personnel, he made a significant observation. The uniforms these individuals wore identified them as mercenaries affiliated with the Blackwater Corporation from the country M. Drawing. Upon his extensive knowledge, Yinan connected the dots, recognizing that these mercenaries had ties to a well-known organization, the Four Stars Group. While Yinan diligently went about his investigative work, Chen Yue felt a growing urge to contribute to their situation. She swayed closer to the lifeless bodies of the armed personnel, convinced that there must be something hidden within the inner layers of their uniforms. Her persistent efforts yielded a significant discovery, as she stumbled upon an identification card concealed within the attire. Upon closer examination, Yue identified the card as belonging to the emblem of the underground research facility at Qingyang University's laboratory. This revelation piqued Yinan's interest, as the mention of the university triggered a sense of familiarity, echoing the enigmatic Parrot's cryptic message. Yinan's curiosity deepened as he questioned why the mercenaries had targeted Yue specifically. She revealed that their primary objective was to obtain the password required for access to the university's underground biological laboratories research facility. This revelation left Yinan pondering who else might possess knowledge of this crucial password besides Yue. Chen Yue disclosed that she held the exclusive knowledge of the password. During that critical time, she had not only changed the password but had also been the only person to access the laboratory. She had unwittingly become embroiled in a situation where she was framed for actions she hadn't committed. This filled her with a profound sense of duty and responsibility, compelling her to take the risky step of returning to the infected F-City. Filled with unwavering determination, Yue ardently expressed her desire to join Yinan in unraveling the intricacies of this puzzling situation. She implored him to allow her to be part of the investigation, offering her assistance in their quest for answers. As Yue passionately made her case for partnership, Yinan's thoughts delved into the significance of the facility itself, a crucial laboratory established by H country. The multitude of secrets concealed within its walls intrigued him. Yinan, however, recognized the grave risks involved, especially for Yue, who lacked immunity against the virus. He candidly warned her of the perils she would face if she accompanied him. This revelation left Yue disheartened, as she grappled with the realization that her direct involvement might be limited. Yet, driven by an inner resolve to contribute, Yue swiftly approached Yinan, leaning in close to whisper something into his ear. Her words carried a sense of conviction, leaving Yinan to ponder the significance of her undisclosed message in their unfolding journey. With the password to the laboratory now in their possession, Yue still held a glimmer of hope that she might be allowed to accompany Yinan on their investigative journey. In a gesture of gratitude and concern, Yinan provided her with a crate of essential survival supplies, carefully chosen to sustain her for 6 days, an ominous reminder of the impending H country's bombing of the city. Yinan held hope that the provisions he had given Yue would suffice to sustain her. Yue expressed concern for Yinan as he embarked on his solo journey. As the elevator chimed, Yue eagerly awaited Yinan's response. With a resolute expression, Yinan assured her that if, after 6 days, she remained alive, it would indicate the mission's success. With that, he departed on his mission. Meanwhile, Yue carried a lingering sense of disappointment at being turned down. For years, Yinan had been her idol, and this unexpected encounter had brought her face to face with the harsh realities of their current situation. Meanwhile, in a desolate parking lot, frustration consumed Yinan as he attempted to start cars that had clearly been intentionally damaged. Thankfully, the laboratory lay a mere 20 kilometers away, a distance he was willing to traverse on foot. On another somber note, in a grim alleyway within the city, a desperate man sought the favor of local thugs in a bid to survive. He hoped to secure additional food from them, and his request extended to obtaining a fresh gas mask, as his current one had seen better days. The thug, not one for pleasantries, quickly urged the beggar to open a bag he had brought along. To their dismay, inside the bag was a distressed woman, seemingly a victim of a human trafficking scheme. Disgust etched across the thug's face as he beheld the unfortunate woman. The men forcibly took her away, leaving the beggar with a mere pack of food and a mask in return for his compliance. The beggar's desperation for more sustenance was palpable, given the deeds he had carried out on their behalf. The woman, forcefully cast into the unforgiving abyss of a dilapidated structure, found herself in an environment that seemed to exist beyond the boundaries of human compassion, joining a group of other victims who shared her terrifying fate. Together, they stood on the precipice of an uncertain and horrifying future, bound by the cruel chains of circumstance and the grim reality of their surroundings. At that forsaken street corner of F City, the atmosphere was thick with tension, and the two thugs in their makeshift trucks had already committed themselves to a path of ruthless survival. As they scoured for supplies, their eyes locked onto a lone figure approaching in the distance. While these two desperate thugs scoured the desolate streets of F City for any remnants of supply, their weary eyes locked onto a solitary figure emerging in the distance. That figure was none other than Yinan, who continued his relentless search for a functional vehicle. To the thugs, he appeared as just another scavenger in search of sustenance. However, their leader's strict orders rang in their ears, dictating that anyone crossing their path in search of food must meet a brutal end. As they revved their trucks to speed towards Yinan, it became apparent that their intent was not just to run him down but to eliminate him completely. Yet, Yinan, standing there seemingly calm and composed, gave off an air of someone who was ready to mete out a lesson in survival. The thugs couldn't have anticipated what awaited them. In a swift and precise motion, Yinan raised his rifle. Their surprise was palpable as they observed Yinan, armed and determined. Without hesitation, Yinan swiftly pulled the trigger of his rifle. His shots shattered the glass, causing the vehicle to veer off its collision course with him. In that critical moment, their recklessness had cost them dearly. Yinan didn't hesitate. He seized the opportunity to incapacitate the would-be assailants. With a display of unmatched skill and determination, he neutralized the threat they posed. Yinan saw an opportunity to interrogate the thug, pressing him for answers about the sudden violence they had encountered. The thug, desperate to avoid being thrown to the ravenous zombie, pleaded for mercy and explained that their leader had given strict orders to eliminate anyone struggling to survive in the city on sight. Fearfully, the thug begged for his life. The realization hit Yinan like a ton of bricks. The systematic disabling of vehicles throughout the city was part of the gangsters' plan to seize control. It revealed the gang's base of operations at the central business building and mentioned that there were 8 thugs stationed there. After extracting this vital information, Yinan left the thug to his grim fate amidst the zombies and commandeered the truck, setting a course for the gang's headquarters. He realized, however, that the vehicle's gasoline was running low, and he hoped to refuel as soon as he reached the gangsters' base. It was a risky gambit, but Yinan knew he had to confront the gang to uncover more about their sinister plans. Yinan's arrival at the thugs' headquarters was far from subtle. The unsuspecting gang members initially mistook him for one of their own as he approached in the stolen truck. It wasn't until he veered the vehicle menacingly toward the building they realized something was terribly amiss. Panic rippled through their ranks as the truck bore down on them, its acceleration signaling impending danger. One thug found himself in its deadly path, and before he could react, the truck collided with brutal force, rendering him unconscious. The approaching zombies, drawn by the commotion, closed in on their fallen prey, ready for a gruesome feast. Meanwhile, inside the building, another thug had sinister intentions for a captive woman. He subjected her to a terrifying ordeal. The thug then pushed her to proceed on doing something disgusting on the woman. He then forced to rip her clothes while the woman cries for help. But his vile actions were abruptly halted by a fellow gang member. The interruption came with news of an intruder, none other than Yinan, who had brought a legion of zombies in tow. The gang's leader wasted no time in securing their captives, ensuring they wouldn't escape during the impending chaos. Panic spread among the victims as they were hurriedly bound and relocated. Amidst the turmoil, a young girl was overwhelmed with fear as she witnessed a horde of zombies approaching. Just when all seemed lost, salvation arrived in an unexpected form. The mysterious death of the approaching zombies and the sudden appearance of a resolute figure marked the arrival of a hero. Yinan's intervention offered a glimmer of hope amid the grim surroundings, promising a shift in the tide of their fate. His voice carries a reassuring yet commanding tone. She complied, rising from her place of concealment, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and curiosity. Peering through a cracked window, she observed Yinan with a sense of awe and disbelief. It was as though the zombies were under his unspoken command, following him like an eerie, undead entourage. Meanwhile, the panicked thugs scrambled into their car, desperate to escape the approaching onslaught. Their faces contorted with terror as they realized the nightmarish truth. They were surrounded not only by Yinan but also by a relentless horde of ravenous zombies. In a cruel twist of fate, they met the gruesome end they had planned for their innocent victims. With the thugs' screams echoing in the background, the rescued victims emerged from their hiding place, their gratitude palpable. Among them was a young girl whose smile radiated pure innocence and relief. Her genuine expression of thanks touched Yinan's heart deeply, reminding him of his baby sister, Kian. In that moment, he felt a renewed sense of purpose and hope in this bleak world. With a heavy heart, Yinan bid farewell to the survivors, knowing that his mission lay ahead, and that many challenges and mysteries awaited him in the ravaged city. Within the confines of the government meeting, a council member who vehemently argued for an immediate bombing of the city with the intent of containing the rampant infection that threatened to spill beyond its borders. Furthermore, the decision to demolish the Qingyang University laboratory alongside the city only added to the intrigue. However, what perplexed the rest of the council was the abrupt shift in strategy. As they had initially agreed on a 6-day timeline, Ehai's deviation from the agreed-upon plan raised questions and, in some cases, suspicion. In response to the courageous dissenting council members' objections, a palpable tension hung in the air. The council decided to put the matter to a democratic vote. In a disheartening turn of events, the majority of the council members, swayed by the persuasive argument and the council's desire to act swiftly, sided with the initial proposal to bomb F City and the Qingyang University laboratory. As the debate grew more intense, one council member decided to take a stand. He voiced his strong objection to the rushed decision, emphasizing the need for a more considered approach. This courageous act left the entire council in a state of shocked silence, as it became evident that this man harbored no fear of challenging the authorities. His unwavering determination to make his dissent heard reverberated through the room, injecting an air of uncertainty into the proceedings.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Leave a comment for the next part, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.